Now, New Zealand is considering changing the law to offer bereavement leave to women who suffer the loss of a baby at any stage of pregnancy. So with 1 in 4 pregnancies ending in miscarriage, should the UK follow suit and force bosses to offer miscarriage leave, Nadia?
Wow, how complicated is this emotionally? First of all, that's very, very difficult for an employer. I mean, so many women do suffer from miscarriage, so that's very complicated. But I think also there is can be a real lack of understanding at just how horrendous it can be to have a miscarriage. I remember the first miscarriage I had, I was 38. I'm getting goosebumps again. I got this in the meeting today. And I literally, when Mark and I looked at that stick and it said I was pregnant, the feeling over my body, right over my body, my scalp moved back and forward, goosebumps. It was such incredible news. And from that second, it wasn't a sperm met an egg. It wasn't just a few hours or a few days. To me, it was a baby. I remember we were in Cornwall, we went out, we spoke all evening about what we were going to do and was it going to get to what school they were going to go and the holiday. You know, so right from that minute, I was just beyond joyful, and I thought, this is it. I'm older mum, this is it. You know, I might never have another one, but this is everything. And then when I lost it, it was absolutely devastating. Now, I know that to a lot of people, I could have said, you know, oh, I'm 6 weeks, I'm 4 weeks, I'm 8 weeks, I'm 10 weeks, or 12 weeks, and they might completely understandably go, well, OK, but it's not really a baby, is it? It's not really a baby. And I really feel for women that might come up against that and I mean, I was, with all my miscarriages, I went straight back to work. With everything that's happened, all the devastating things that have happened in my life, I've always gone straight back to work because work is my salve, it is my medicine, and that's what's right for me. But also, I think, for an awful lot of people, that possibly couldn't be. I once met a guy, he was the 16th pregnancy of his mother. His mother had had 15 miscarriages.
Unbelievable.
Can you even imagine what that's like? So I think if there's nothing in place for a woman to take leave, I think that might be a little gap. But I think that to protect employers, for some people that might use and abuse that, I think you would have to have, obviously, some kind of doctor or counsellor's note to support that this person is in mental anguish and can't work.
Really, we've got lots of comments in here. I just want to read out Rebecca's because it's kind of following on from what you've said. It said, I had one at work a few years back and was only allowed the next day off. I couldn't get on with my work, and to top it off, I worked in a nursery with babies at the time. I had a miscarriage. Everyone should be entitled to leave for something as serious as this. I was 38 when I had IVF with Zach, and I just remember when you go into the IVF process, you are so desperate. And I was desperate. The only thing I wanted in my life.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, but when you go into IVF, you are prepared for failure. So
do they really tell you that?
They really do.
Your percentage
You're
is very
38.
low.
It's a real numbers game. They're 38. So I was going into having a baby, but it was all numerical. It was data.
Science.
It was science.
Yeah.
So I went in, and it was, Steve just said, you know, it's a numbers game. Luckily, with the first one, I caught, and I was over the moon. But I couldn't enjoy the first 9 weeks of my
you're
my
prepared
growth.
to lose.
Yeah, because I was prepared to do it. The second time it happened, I was 40. And because I had Zach, the chances of you having a second one is actually increased if your first one works.
Oh, OK.
So I was actually quite excited. I was like, oh, this could work. I've had one, it's fine. The day before, I had to go and get my pregnancy test. So everything was fine. I looked down, and there was just blood everywhere. And honestly, I kind of was prepared.
Yeah.
And the moment that happened, I remember just picking up the phone and said to social services, hello, I'd like to adopt. I don't know if it was in denial, but I just thought, it's happened, and I've just got to do it.
People cope in different ways.
It did, and I didn't even see it as a miscarriage.
No.
And I don't know if people are going to judge me on that and just say, well, you know, that's heartless. But I just think in my head I was prepared that that wasn't...
But also, it's like any form of grief, isn't it? People grieve completely differently. So some people's way of coping with it is to go back to work the next day because they don't want to sit home and dwell. Other people need that time off.
I just think judgment in grief...
I don't think we should judge them whichever way they want to deal with it.
Judgment in grief grief is just so brutal and wrong, because it does. It's like, you know, I remember when I lost somebody very close to me, and everyone, I really did feel there was a lot of judgment, and I was like, I want to say, can I have the book that you've all got, so I can go 1, 2, 3 on how I'm supposed to grieve? And so I think if we make a law which can protect people that are really in a bad way about it, I think that'd be a good thing.
But I also think as well, we shouldn't... I think men very much get left out. You know, because at the end of the day, it's their baby too. OK, you're carrying it, but it is their baby. And I think men completely, when the woman has a miscarriage, completely get shut out. And I know my brother-in-law, Bernie's husband, when they sadly lost their first baby, which she had to give birth to, and then they had Erin, and then she got pregnant again when I got pregnant with Kira, and sadly she lost that. And it really, really, really affected Steve. And it was only when somebody said to me, it was actually Bernie said, Steve's really struggling with this, that you go, God, men are so forgotten. You know, it's his child too. And actually their grief made them go, do you know what, we're just going to appreciate Erin that we've got, and we can't go through that again. And they didn't try again.
To go back to the original point, though, about, you know, making it mandatory that if somebody has this unfortunate situation, I don't think that you can make it law. I would like to think that employers would be kind enough and understanding enough that if it's known that a woman has had a miscarriage, that they would automatically say, look, take a couple of days off. I think it gets tricky when you start making it law that they, from a mandatory point of view, that they have to have 4 days or a week or whatever they say. I don't think that would ever work. But I'd like to think...
Do you not think that's supported with a doctor's note? Obviously, you can't just come in and say, I've had a miscarriage and I need this time. But I think...
of course, you need that.
I think, because I think there's often that people have kept it secret that they're pregnant because they're superstitious about losing it. And so then it's very difficult, isn't it, to then go to your employer and say, I need some time off. So they would have to... I mean, I suppose the complication of it is if, like you say, and I think it's an important point, is that you also have to recognise that the man is going through it. Then might you be in a situation where the man needs time off as well? So, yes, from a human point of view, it's like, absolutely, but the poor employer, and if you're a small business, how are you going to be able to...
But you know, the whole thing with miscarriage, though, it's like, it's interesting that New Zealand are wanting to put this into law. In this country, and I think this is where we are barbaric, that doctors' advice is, literally, they say it like this, we're not interested unless you've had 3 miscarriages. I think that's quite barbaric.
But that's because that's just, they mean that with the physical, we can't judge anything until physical.
I know, but still to say that the woman has to go through... And I know people who've been through over 3.
So do I.
And that's quite horrendous, to go through 3 miscarriages before the doctor will even see you or take you seriously. I think that's quite, you know...
Well, we did a poll, should bosses have to offer miscarriage leave? And actually 96% of you said yes.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Wow.
And so can I just say, if any of you have been affected by anything we've been talking about there, you will find helplines on our website.